This is the Milo Beasley Show. This is the Milo Beasley Show. There's only one thing you need to know. This is the Milo Beasley Show. And now, here's your host, Milo Beasley.
And welcome to another episode of the Milo Beasley Show, episode number 293. Oh man, we are up there, and it's getting close to Mania week, which means one thing. It's not Wrestlemania, so it's Wrestlemania week. So to help me talk about some of the shows going on, please help me welcome the Master of Ceremonies, Larry Legend. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing just fine and dandy. Thank you for having me on the show. And I couldn't have said it better myself. We're gearing up for Mania weekend, Mania week. And it's feeling special, extra special, because we missed out on it last year. We were all gearing up and ready to go for ICW invading Tampa last year. And, we all had to pump our brakes due to the global pandemic. So we're also excited to kind of finally be seeing all these shows, seeing the finish line with all of them that were announced last year.
Absolutely. I'm super excited. Danny's been doing such a great job with ICW over, especially this past year with everything going on, still able to put on a hell of a show throughout these past couple months. It's been amazing.
Well, Danny has a real mind for the business. And that's very much reflective in the fact that the first thing that you see at every ICW show is myself. Because, I mean, not to really toot my own horn, but I've been doing this for 18 years now, going on my 19th year. And if there's anyone that you don't want to have to worry about when you've got so many other things going on to put together a show, it's your announcer. You don't want to have to worry about your announcer saying the wrong things, not controlling the crowd, not promoting the event correctly. So Danny DeMonto wanted to hit a home run. He's used the phrase swinging for the fences, and it doesn't get much more bigger, better, and brighter than myself. I mean, for God's sakes, I'm Larry Legend,
Absolutely.
So it's like, it's the name speaks for itself. So yeah, he's really got the team rallied, myself included. And yeah, what better way to say, hey, I'm here today than to have, me start off the show and be the essential figure of the ICW No Holds Barred movement.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And that's why, well, you say it because, well, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's my shtick. Yeah.
So, you said you've been doing this almost 19 years though. How did you get involved in wrestling to begin with? You actually didn't want to be a wrestler when you first got involved, correct?
That's correct. I mean, I got involved. Well, I mean, it started from just playing with my toys and kind of doing the voice of the announcer as I would play with my hacksaw Jim Duggan versus my big boss man, my Hasbro figures. I would and he's going to the top rope. And that's kind of where I kind of developed, I want to listen to the way that they sound on TV so that I can make it sound just like that when I'm doing my little mock, Wrestlemania card, putting it together myself. But it's funny, Danny and I did another appearance, and he mentioned that, when he thinks about it, looking back, it was how he used to put together his figures for who would fight that he was most into. So, we're not that far away from each other in age. So it's just interesting to think when we were both kids playing with our figures, it was me kind of doing the announcements of, I would even sing their songs. Like I would even do like the PA system for like Ted DiBiase's theme song, just to use my voice to like make it a show, even though it was toys. So, that's really what got me into wanting to be an announcer. But yeah, I didn't want to be a wrestler at first. I was more into Mean Gene and Bobby the Brain Heenan and Jesse Ventura and Vince McMahon and all of those different sounds that kept me entertained while I was watching the fights.
That's awesome. I see. I always wanted to be a wrestler and, maybe wasn't big enough for it. So maybe I should have done the smart thing, the Larry Legend way. And,
well, I mean, I did kind of mess around with my friends around the time of, No Mercy, the video game, and WrestleMania 2000. Those games had great engines for the create a wrestler. And if you actually just let the loop play over and over again, it would pretty much accurately show you how to perform like a fire thunder driver, like the create a wrestler mode. So for a very small period of time, I kind of was with my high school friends, and we would do like backyard wrestling shows. But even when I was doing all of that, I was still like the main announcer. Like when guys would be coming out, I would be the one saying their name as they came. I would be like doing the commentary for their match, and then we would switch off when like I would wrestle. But just the pain that came from like backyard wrestling, I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for making a career out of this. So it was really like, my voice that I rested on is kind of my way in. And yeah, longevity. I've been doing it now for a while, and I don't plan on quitting anytime soon. So
yeah, I mean, and considering the places that you've been that you've announced at, I mean, CZW, ICW,
yeah.
these guys, maybe staying out of the ring is definitely the key to longevity there. Were you drawn to that style when you first saw it, or like was that something like, oh well, I'm going to stay away from that, but you ended up in that realm anyway?
So I mean, the extent of my knowledge of hardcore before I got to CZW was ECW, and I did think that ECW matches were more exciting, and I also noted that the ECW voices were really kind of cool too. So like I mentioned a lot of WWF guys, but Paulie is a huge influence on like, vocal performance, and especially Paulie doing all the bumpers for ECW, like when they would be going, all that, like, that's those new and exciting things that they would do. Joey Styles, Joel Gertner, even Don Callis later on, all of those guys who knew how to like just, narrate what it was that you were seeing and narrate it so that it went with the visuals. But that was the extent that I knew of hardcore. I started out in Maryland. So I knew of and had heard of Axel Rotten as being the one guy involved in ECW, that hardcore stuff that, I don't want to say I was connected to, but, Axel's from Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore. So I knew of that, but it wasn't until I met Ruckus. Former 3-time CZW World Champion Ruckus in Maryland. I finally got the opportunity to announce him in Maryland, and he was like, "Dude, you're really good. Like, I don't know how I don't know you, but you need to come with me to CZW." And I was like, "What's CZW?" I really was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." At that point, I only knew kind of my home-fed WWE, Impact. I didn't know. I had heard of ROH, but I really didn't know about all the other ones. And he brought me to CZW, Ruckus, to be his personal announcer, and that's when I really saw, like, I guess what ECW had kind of birthed. Like, the ashes of ECW rose CZW. And the funny part about it is I didn't even realize for the first couple times that I was at CZW as Ruckus's personal ring announcer. I knew it was Philly. I knew it was an arena, but I was unaware until years later that was actually the bingo hall. That was actually the ECW arena, because, that place is like morphed a lot on the inside. You still got that pillar, but from where the ECW guys used to come out to where the CZW ring was, it was a little different. So my first couple times in CZW, I didn't even realize where I was, but I took to that environment. And again, with talking about how Gertner and Styles and Paulie match their vocal performance with that style of raw wrestling, that's what I did to CZW. And I think that more or less kind of established me as like, this guy doesn't just know how to do like Madison Square Garden. Like, if we're going to do some like chains, glass, craziness, like, he'll be smart about it and not be so much of a stuffed shirt, but cater his style to the place that he is. And yeah, it's that's just his experience, doing Dragon Gate, Evolve, just different places. I had a lot of different promoters tell me the way that they like it. And at this point, after 18 years, I know, like, I can do my research. I'm no longer like new to it. I'm no longer young to the business. So wherever I'm working, I know how to give it up for them the way that's best for business.
Absolutely. I do want to make 2 points about CZW. Want to talk about 2 things. The
Sure.
first is let's put over Ruckus, because I first met Ruckus when he came to Florida for the very first, I think it was the very first Jeff Peterson Memorial Cup.
Sounds about right.
And he wrestled Roddy. He wrestled Roderick Strong in
That's right.
Such an amazing match. But
yeah,
how is this guy not broken with as much wrestling as there is on television right now? Somebody, let's talk up Ruckus.
Well, I mean, I kind of experienced a lot of a similar career to Ruckus, I feel, in as much as like a lot of the times people always say to me, man, why aren't you signed? I've heard it so much, like, why aren't you signed? Why aren't you signed? Because, you're so good, you should just be on TV. Well, being on TV and being signed is not always like the best for you as an individual. And it's funny that Ruckus is kind of the one who took me out of Maryland to do other shows like CZW, but also in doing that, he taught me a lot about like making sure that you're getting what you want. If somebody wants you, that they're not kind of hustling you to think that, oh, you should be happy that we're even giving you an opportunity.
Right.
And there have been many times in my career and many promoters that I've worked for that I have not like kind of bowed down, like, oh yes, I'm so happy to get this opportunity because I'm good. And this is the other part of the lesson. Like Ruckus is like, if you're good, then they should be knocking your door down and being like, we want you. What do you need, sir? Let's make sure this talented person is taken care of and treated with the reverence and respect that, that they can bring to the table. But all too often you find promoters that kind of like have this air about them like, oh, well, this is the great, for example, GCW. People would kill for an opportunity to be announcing GCW. So, like, just do it the way that I say. It's not going to work for me. That's not going to work for me from WWE, from AEW, from any of the bigs. And I am very proud and very, cock strong about, oh no, we're not doing that. And people don't like it when you're good and you tell them, oh no, we're not doing that. Because then that spills over to other talent, and other talent is kind of like, oh, wow, damn, this guy's like, he's saying we're doing it my way. And that is a very great, accurate description of kind of like the way Ruckus is. And I don't want to say that, promoters stay away from him, but he's very proud and he knows his worth, and you're not getting over on him. And the same thing for me. It's like, I will go and work somewhere else, and there are plenty of companies that are like, yeah, Larry, come. So, pardon the expression, but fuck what you heard. You got me. I don't got you. You got me.
Absolutely.
So that's all from his mentorship. That's my attitude. So yeah, sing his praises. He's a 3-time CZW world champion. Blackout just done, and so many things he's done for other wrestlers that you don't even know about. I mean, like, I don't think a lot of people know that he was instrumental in getting me put on, but there's so many other wrestlers that he's cultivated and touched and kind of, set on that right path. And no, he doesn't get his flowers. It's kind of like he just got announced as being a part of that deathmatch wrestling game. And, the internet was kind of buzzing, and I saw a lot of people talking about, oh, we need to see, Ruckus versus Jordan Oliver, Ruckus versus Timmy Lou Retton. Oh, what I'd give to see Ruckus versus, and I talk to Claude often, and I'm always telling him, dude, everyone's like, they want to see you do that razzle dazzle just one more time. You should come to Tampa and knowing your worth. He's like, that'd be great, but I'm not ready right now. I've had a lot of time off, with COVID. So if I'm coming back, I want to come back correct, or else, what do I look like? So yeah,
right.
But give Ruckus his flowers. I'll always sing his praises, and I'll always remind people that he is the one who set Larry Legend on the path to even be in CZW, ICW, Dragon Gate. All of the stuff comes from Ruckus being like, hey man, you're really good, and you're so good, you can make my shit better. So come with me to CZW, and the rest is history.
Right. And then the second thing I want to talk about with CZW is it led to you being in The Wrestler. I mean,
yeah. So when Ruckus brought me up as the personal announcer for Blackout, I was kind of like here, there, but it wasn't consistent because, you know, and this is still to this day, that was like kind of like an opportunity. So like no one really talked to me about like, oh, let us compensate you for getting a Greyhound bus from New York City, or let us like, you know, here's a couple dollars, you know. So it never was really kind of expressed to me that I was working for CZW. I was just more or less coming out with Ruckus and allowed to announce. So I was here, there, but yeah, finally they were like, listen, our announcer is quitting, and we loved what you did with Blackout, so would you like to be the CZW full-time announcer? And you know, I was like, you know, sure. And the first show that I appeared at previously with Blackout, I kind of dressed like hood, like I was like you know, I fit the Blackout like label,
right.
you know. So my first show as announcer, as full-time announcer for CZW, I figured since the last time they saw me kind of looking like New York Fly, I'm gonna come out that way to be the announcer. And hey, it's CZW, they're gonna probably love it. I was like a little bit ahead of Jim Smallman, because I feel like he has really kind of turned MCing into like, you know, come as you are, MC, you know, it doesn't matter. You don't have to look like the Fink. But I was doing that my first CZW show, but everyone was really angry. They were really angry with me for doing that. They were like, you don't look professional, you know, and I'm like, what? Last time I was here, I was Blackout. Did you guys forget? Like, just because I'm the announcer doesn't mean that I'm not still a good announcer. So what the hell? And they were like, yeah, man, next time you come here, you should have a suit. And I'll never forget, Zandig actually said that to me in the ring. He came out to cut a promo, and at the end of the promo, he was like, and the next time I see you here, you better be wearing a fucking suit. And he like chopped the microphone into my chest like real hard. And like, you can see this. I'm like, whoa. Like, and that was just me kind of learning as I went along. No one told me that the next time that there was a CZW show, now as the full-time announcer, was when they were filming The Wrestler. So no one told me that. No one smartened me up to it. But I remember thinking to myself after all of that was over, I was like, damn, I'm glad that my first night in CZW wasn't when they were filming The Wrestler, because looking that way, they probably would have been like, okay, we can't have this guy. Like, he looks like he just came off the fucking street. Like, we can't have him doing it. But the second CZW show I did, the entire crew was there. I arrived. I'm like, whoa, what the heck is going on? This is some major equipment in here, you know, not like any other time that I'd been in there. And I remember Maven Bentley came up to me and he's like, hey, Larry, you got your suit, right? And I'm like, yeah, I got a suit this time. I will definitely be in a suit for this show. And he's like, all right. Because we're filming like this little, like, kind of like a movie, their project that they're working on. Still not telling me about Mickey Rourke, Darren Aronofsky. I'm just like, okay, second time being full-time announcer, want to do a good job. And, you know, the night led on, and I went out there and I met Darren Aronofsky and Mickey Rourke, and Darren Aronofsky was like, hey, we don't have an announcer for this, you know, some of the scenes we're filming here tonight. Would you mind doing it? And I'm like, well, am I going to get credited? My reply to Darren Aronofsky when he asked me if I wouldn't mind doing it was, well, am I going to be credited if this movie comes out? And he's like, oh yeah. We'll get your info. We'll get everything from you. Yeah, but would you do it? And I'm like, I'm here to do the show that I was hired to do. So yeah, I'll help you out and I'll announce for the movie. And dude, it was brutal. It was like they filmed for like 4 hours before the CZW show actually started. So it was like 4 hours of like, you know, the Necro, Mickey Rourke scene, Mickey Rourke stunt double Necro, all the stuff around the arena, me in the ring announcing like over and over and over and over and over again, the same thing. And then at like midnight, we started the CZW show that people had bought their tickets for at like midnight, at like 12 midnight is when that show started. You know, after we had done all the fucking wrestler jazz. But yeah, I found out subsequently that a lot of people got paid. I found out that like the whole ROH crew, when they filmed the ROH scenes, like all those guys got checks. I know Maven got paid. I did not. I did not get anything besides what I was hired for CZW to do that night, which is standard ring announcer rate back in 2008 or 2009, whenever they filmed that. And I never saw anything off of that, but I was credited. And also because I kind of dropped a little tidbit that I was a New Yorker at the time. I told I think the producer's name was Scott Foley. I think it was like Scott Foley, like Mick Foley, but Scott. Like I was like, yeah, I live in Brooklyn and I work in Manhattan, so after you guys get finished doing this, if you need anything else, and he actually did hit me up and asked me if I would mind. Again, this is all like, would you mind,
right.
like coming to a recording studio in Brooklyn and doing some follow-up. We need like some kind of like sound clips of like just an announcer saying like, oh, and he's going to the top rope. Kind of the same thing that I did with the toys as a kid,
right.
Is what they were basically saying they needed to capture. And I was like, hey, I told you I was a New Yorker. I told you that if you needed anything, call me. So heck yeah. And I went into the, the Brooklyn studio and I asked again, like, hey, am I getting credited in this? Like, I'm still saying this, like, credited, because I'm thinking at this point, if you're calling me in for this is probably going somewhere. It's probably going to be a big deal. And I'll never forget there was, it wasn't Jimmy Valiant, but there was another wrestler there, real old timer, who was also came in to record some voice work. And he and I just kind of hung out. And then I went into the back and I looked over like all these sides. They're called sides of different things. And I read a bunch of stuff. And they only used a little of it. A lot of it it was like, I guess they just have my voice somewhere out there for whatever, But yeah, I was in that movie. And third from the bottom, when you were looking at the credits, of course, I'm nowhere up top, but third from the bottom, it says CZW announcer Larry Legend. And that is also kind of how I discovered that I was on IMDb. As you know, after a while, you start to vanity search yourself when you've been doing it for about 10 years.
Right.
And, that's how I discovered that I had an IMDb profile and it was under Larry Legend. So I was like, whoa, because they don't know me,
Right.
And it wasn't until I got to ROH a few years later, and ROH insisted that for them, I go by my government name, that then my IMDb got changed to like my name and then in parentheses, Larry Legend, because that's, who I am most of the time. But,
right.
But yeah, it was an honor. It was great. And I mean, like, I can always say that I'm in that movie. Like the first thing you hear after you hear like a little ambient, like crowd murmuring, people like is my voice. As soon as the movie comes on, it's my voice. And in the CZW scene as well, you can hear my voice. So yeah, that was quite an achievement. And I wasn't even trying. I was just, Ruckus brought me up there and they liked me and said come back. And just so happens the second show that I came back was probably one of the most significant shows I could ever do.
That's insane.
Chance, yeah. So yeah, man, that was great.
And then speaking of Brooklyn, you actually repped Brooklyn when you were on The Price is Right.
Au contraire, mon ami. The other borough that begins with a B, the Bronx. I threw up.
Oh, the Bronx. That's right, the Bronx.
Yeah. So as a New Yorker, I lived in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan during my 10 years of being a New Yorker. I was just seeing what it was like, yeah, I threw up the BX, because that's what people from the Bronx do. And you know what? Out of all the places that I lived, the Bronx was the kindest. I always had the kindest landlords that would like let me be late on the rent. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I never had any fears, or it just felt like home. The Bronx just felt like home for the time as a New Yorker that I lived there. And I actually spent the most time as a New Yorker in the Bronx. So yeah, when I was on The Price is Right, I said, he asked me when I got up there, he's like, where are you from? And I had to say Baltimore first, because that is where I'm born and raised. Baltimore first, Baltimore, Maryland, but I'm currently residing in the Bronx, New York. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, the Bronx." And I just turned and looked at the crowd just in case there was anybody from, the Bronx, just to let them know I'm authentic. But nobody knew what the hell that was. They probably thought I was throwing up gang signs.
Probably.
Yeah.
What'd you do with your winnings?
What's that?
What'd you do with your winnings from The Price is Right?
Well, I paid my taxes. Because if you
Such a
don't
work.
know, I guess people know. I didn't know because the entire Price is Right trip was a birthday gift for my mom. My mom had never been to LA. I'd never been to LA after like getting our flight out there and like, the hotel. I really didn't have any money. And someone had told me you can go on The Price is Right for free before I left. And I was like, oh, well, my mom watches The Price is Right every day. So happy birthday. We're in LA. Let's go to The Price is Right. Never really dawned on me when I was booking it that like, hey, you could potentially get called up there and be like a contestant. But I mean, it's almost like if I'm taking my mom to LA for her birthday and it's the first time that you and her have ever been to LA and you go to see The Price is Right, how could the story not end that at least one of you gets up? Like it just is it's a dud of a story. If I do all that and just, then we just watch The Price is Right and then we went back to the hotel and figure, hung out in LA for a few more days. No, that's not legendary. That's not legendary. And if you're gonna go out there calling yourself Larry Legend, then you gotta win. So but it did bump me up into a way. It bumped me up into a higher tax bracket. That happened in 2011. That happened in 2011, and I think it aired in 2012. It happened in 2012. But that year for my taxes, I won a boat. I won a trip to Cabo San Lucas. I won, designer Yves Saint Laurent, bag and accessory. I won a bunch of stuff. And the whole haul bumped me up into a higher tax bracket that year. So that year I had to pay New York state tax as a New Yorker, California state tax as like a lotto winner from the state of California. And I was a New Yorker at that time. So I won a boat. One of the prizes I won was a boat. It was worth like 20 grand. The boat was worth like 20 grand. And the guy calls me up to make arrangements for me to have my boat and trailer delivered in the Bronx. And I'm like, okay, I guess I have no choice, And I'm living in an apartment, a basement apartment at this time. It's funny because looking back on it, the apartment that I lived in did have a fully functional driveway. And the landlord and none of the other tenants had cars. So in theory, if I could go back 8 years, I maybe would have thought about possibly trying to sell that boat myself, because the end resolution is the guy was like, called me to be like, so what are you going to do? You gonna take the boat? And I'm like, well, I want it. And he's like, okay, well, what are you going to do with it? I'm like, probably going to sell it because I'm not looking to go out, fishing or anything. And he's like, he's like, well, if that's what you're going to do, I'd gladly do it for you. I go to boat shows every single weekend. And I'm like, okay, well, how much you think you're going to get for it? And he's like, I'll get anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 on a $20,000 boat.
Right.
Of course, he gets the lower end of that. You already know the way that the story is going to go. But he sold the boat. I got that money. I literally had, a stack or a lick, as the kids say, a lick in my bank account for a day before I paid my taxes, when my taxes were like $11,000, and I sold the boat for $10K. So the boat kind of washed, selling the boat kind of washed all the money I was going to owe. And then after that, a lot of the prizes, they actually cut you checks for. They give you a taxed check. So I know I won an iMac. I didn't actually get the iMac. I got a check for the value of the iMac. I got a recumbent exercise bike. Same thing with that. But then some things I actually did get. I got the Yves Saint Laurent, purse and heels. I got that. I got a washer dryer. A lot of the stuff went right to my mom too. It was like my mom. This was her birthday present, so
right. Of course.
Not only did we go, not only did I get up there, not only did I win, but you get the prizes. So it was like, so she got the washer dryer, and there's a couple other things. They kind of decided whether they, cut you check or had a vendor or something contact you about having your prizes delivered or whatnot. And the best thing, I got to go to Cabo San Lucas for 4 days and I think 4 days and 3 nights or something like that. So that was awesome. That was the best thing that I got from that. And also being on national TV with WWE Hall of Famer Drew Carey and
absolutely,
winning big at The Price is Right. So yeah, that was awesome, man. That was just one of those moments where I could have really shot myself in the foot by calling myself Larry Legend or something,
right.
Kind of getting, going so hard for that name in the wrestler. And like I said, it wouldn't have been legendary if I got up on The Price is Right and heard, that wouldn't have been legendary.
Right. Not at all.
You're going to go by Larry Legend, you got to hear, and I did. Like, I heard that the whole time and was a big winner. And yeah, I'm talking about it with you today. So yeah.
That's incredible. So one thing we're going to do now, we're going to go into what we like to call our Milo Beasley Show frequently asked questions.
Right on.
These are the same. I asked the same 5 questions to everybody, to all my guests. So we're going to start off with question number 1.
Let's go.
Who is your first celebrity crush?
My first celebrity crush, my first girlfriend was Rudy Huxtable from The Cosby Show. I believe she and I are around the same age, so she was the first kind of television person that I saw that wasn't like in like a kid's show,
right?
But was kind of like in an adult show, being a kid. So I had a big crush on Rudy Huxtable. That was my Keisha Knight Pullum. That was my first celebrity crush.
That's awesome. All right, question number 2. What is your guilty pleasure song?
Well, I guess I don't have a guilty pleasure song. I enjoy like musicals.
Okay.
I have a theatrical background, so like I won't really do it unless I'm around like the right people. But like if you put Rent on, I'm singing like everything. I'm singing the entire thing, all the parts. And if you know it, I'm doing it with you. We're doing it. Same with like Cats, parts of Les Mis. Like there are a lot of different musicals that I know because I love them. And I wouldn't say I have any one guilty pleasure song, but if it's a musical that I like, I'm going in. I don't care what the song is. I don't care what the part is. Guy, girl, let's do this thing. So probably musicals. And I guess Memory from Cats is probably the one that I would, because that one can make me cry. That song, I can hear that song and literally start tearing up. So I think Memories from Cats.
All right, we'll move on before you start crying there.
Right? It's already making me sentimental.
All right, so if you had to, your life depended on it, would you rather fight one giant, like a horse-sized duck, or 100 duck-sized horses?
I think I would probably feel more comfortable fighting 100 duck-sized horses. Just because I've always been, well, growing up, I was always the bigger kid on my block. So I could always kind of, bully. I could always kind of bully people. But every once in a while, someone's cousin would come around the block that was like a little bit further along than me, like a little bit stronger, a little bit broader in the chest, to the point that, I pushed them and they pushed me back. And I'm like, whoa, this is like a man. So I feel more comfortable fighting 100 tiny horses that are ducks or whatever it was.
All right. Question number 4.
Yes.
What is your favorite movie quote?
Oh, that's a hard one. I guess I like Have You Ever Danced with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight from the 1989 Batman. I like that a lot.
Yes.
But I think that's really more like it being delivered. I don't know. There's certain curse words or there's certain strings of curse words that I really have added to my vocabulary. I was just watching Shawshank Redemption last night, and there's just such beautiful language, even the foul language that I've kind of incorporated. Like I'll often call someone a F stick, and the first time I heard that was in Shawshank Redemption. So, yeah, probably gosh, that's a hard one. That's a good question because I love horror movies. Oh, I really enjoy in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 when it's like almost towards the end. They're going to save Joey. He's hanging over the hellfire pit, and Nancy stabs Freddy through the chest with a pole, and he just pulls it out and he licks it. And they're like selling for it, and they're like, he's strong. I've never seen him this strong. And Freddy goes, yes, the souls of the children give me strength. And then he pulls the fucking thing back. He pulls his sweater back, and you see all the victims like coming out of his chest going, ah! And then he goes, always room for more. So I love that. I watch that movie often. That's one of my favorite scenes and also one of my favorite lines.
That's a good one.
Yeah, man.
That's a good one. All right. So the last question on the frequently asked questions.
Yes, sir.
Finish this sentence. I would be a millionaire if I had $1 every time.
Well, I mean, I'm not a liar, and I'd say that I'd probably be a millionaire if I had $1 for every time someone asked me why I'm not signed or how am I not signed? Because we've already gone over this. I've gotten around. I've gotten around for 18 years. I've gotten around. I haven't stayed in one place thanks to Ruckus. I got to bop all over the place. And with every company that I've been in, there's always been a moment where like people kind of like go, wow, this guy's really good. And I feel like a lot of the times it comes from such a genuine place. Like they're almost like, I got to tell this guy that he needs to get out of NYWC and go to W. They kind of approach me as if they're smartening me up. Like, man, you gotta get a contract, So I would honestly say that with every company I've been in and going around the country, there always comes that time where someone kind of pulls me aside and goes, how come you're not signed? Like, you're not signed. So I honestly believe that I'd have close to $1 million by now if I had $1 for every time I heard that. That one hurts. That one hurts.
Well, I mean, all right. So
eventually you get annoyed. It gets kind of annoying because I got to speak to you about it, but a lot of the times I'm doing my job when people ask me that question. I'm doing my job right then and there. I don't have time to engage you about, hey man, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. Let me do this and you sit down and enjoy it. So as I get older, it does kind of get annoying, but yeah, I wish I could translate that into $1 for every time I've heard it.
All right. So, all right. And then our last little of our mini games is the Milo Beasley Show top 5. Where I ask you a random question. And usually I don't have anything planned in advance for this. So usually I just go based on what somebody, like I want to expound a little bit on what my guests say.
Yeah.
And you mentioned at the beginning, you would do your comment, you're announcing for the Hasbro toys. So I'm gonna ask you your top 5 favorite, not necessarily, the ones that you liked announcing, but just the ones you liked playing with. Top 5 favorite Hasbro figures.
Okay. So we'll go with probably the people who kind of like influenced me to follow through and do the wrestling for real. So that's both variants of the Big Boss Man, one of which that I have sealed right in front of me right now. So the first one that was kind of first Boss Man with the big tummy and just did that. And then the second one with the clothesline, both of them. My yellow card, Shawn Michaels, because I could not find him. And Shawn Michaels is probably the biggest inspiration for me to like not miss wrestling, like tape it, not miss it. So when I found a yellow card, Shawn Michaels, like at the KB toy store or wherever it was that one weekend, I was like, oh my God, I've got to buy this right now because I know it's going to be gone or something. So my yellow card, Shawn Michaels. I liked my Giant Gonzalez because he actually was to scale. Like they didn't really make a lot of those figures height-wise to scale. your Hacksaw and your Warlord kind of met up eye to eye. You know, your Skinner and whoever, they kind of like just met up eye to eye. Brett wasn't really that much shorter, but the Giant Gonzalez was actually taller, I felt like. So I really liked him. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I guess I kind of like my Tatanka. I like the Tatanka because I like the clothesline feature. I like this red mohawk. I thought that the detail on that one was really good. So yeah, my 2 boss mans, both variants, Yellow Card Shawn Michaels, Giant Gonzalez, and Tatanka.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was never able to get the Giant Gonzalez. So
I don't know how as a matter of fact, I don't know how I managed to. Maybe there was a new store that opened up, or a store that my mom and I found, and we went there for a while as a sweet spot to get him for me. But yeah, I definitely had a Giant Gonzalez, and I liked playing with him, and he was one of my prized possessions. I ended up giving mostly all of them away, which is just a bonehead move. But I was moving out of the house, and there were kids who weren't going to have a Merry Christmas or something, so I was like, take that stuff. I'm not using it. They'll love it, So all my stuff's gone now.
All right. So before we wrap up, let's plug away on some ICW stuff. So we have the first show is going to be Mania weekend, Thursday, April. I think that's the 8th.
That's right, April 8th.
April 8th. So that'll be the No Holds Barred. What is it? It's now and or then and now, right?
In HP Volume 11. Then and now. That's correct.
I'm super looking forward to this one, mainly because some of my dudes are on this show. There's going to be an appearance by Scoot Andrews, who is one of my favorite opponents of all time. My dude Steve Madison is going to be on the show.
I'm going to be looking forward to both of those individuals that you just mentioned. And the funny thing about Scoot is when I first started, I didn't start an announcer. I started as like kind of a gopher, like get stuff for people, pick people up from the airport and stuff. And I missed Scoot's era by just a fraction. I probably would have announced him back in 2001. I'm talking like 2001, 2002. I probably, if I had been a little bit earlier to the dance, I would have gotten a chance to. And then he went away. And I used to always remember thinking, man, I wish I would have gotten a chance to, announce him. And I'd always ask about him, and I'd always hear he was in Florida, not really, wrestling, but in Florida. That's all I would hear.
Right.
So yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to finally meeting him and introducing myself and telling him how big of an impact he made on me years ago without even really having ever met him.
Right. He's again, one of my favorite humans on this earth, one of my favorite opponents of all time. And then on Friday, there's 2 shows.
Yeah.
One's going to lead to the other. And that's the Pit Fighter Battle of the Tough Guys.
Yep. Pit Fighter Battle of the Tough Guys 16-man single elimination tournament. You're going to have to go the distance if you want to emerge victorious out of this thing. So I'm expecting nothing but bangers. And I'm very curious to see which cage setup we use. Maybe even both. I'll be interested to see how we do that. But yeah,
right, Larry,
what's that?
If you're a betting man, you know all 16 competitors. Who are you placing your money on?
It's going to be one of the bigger guys. I love all of them for what they bring to the table. But, I mean, unless Justin Kyle and Bruce Santee cancel each other out, I'm expecting one of them to, like, be all the way at the end. And what I mean by, obviously, someone's going to win, but someone's going to take some damage. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about a tournament. So, there's damage that carries over into the next round. So, I'm thinking if they can protect their necks, Santee, Kyle, Moff, one of those. I don't know. However they can get through, if they do, it's going to be a tall drink of water to put any one of them down all the way till the end. So I'd say Santee, Moff, or Justin Kyle.
I'm looking forward to seeing how my guy John Davis does in this environment.
That's another big guy. That's I haven't seen him since my time with DGUSA. And Evolve, and I'll be looking forward to seeing him and announcing him. It's going to be quite the moment for us to, see each other again, because it's been years since I've seen him. And yeah, I'm sure that he's going to bring the thunder and the lightning, but with those other guys that I mentioned,
absolutely,
that's
their hands are just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, a little bit bigger, and kind of with Kyle and Santee, they're already tested in this environment. This is like 3 for them. Whatever it is, they fought. So
right,
this is gonna be the first time John Davis has been stepping in there.
Exactly,
Mop's a beast. That's why I'm going with him, but we'll see. And don't sleep on Dominic Garrini, because someone mentioned that he's the most native to that environment. Don't forget, he comes from BJJ.
right?
So it's nothing but a walk in the park for him. And he's also undefeated in the cage. So, yeah, dark horse, maybe Dom Garrini, just for what he brings to the table.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to factor in these guys are also fighting the night before, then and now.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out. And there are a lot of different intangibles like that you just mentioned, and like I was saying, canceling each other out.
Right.
So, but I'm still going with one of the bigger guys.
Right.
Just the old Gorilla Monsoon in me. A good little man could never beat a good big man. So, and these are good big men. So
absolutely. And then the conclusion is going to be No Holds Barred 12, Volume 12. Farewell to the Pawn Shop, Saturday night, 8 p.m. And there's so many, and there's a ton of other great shows that are part of Showcase of the Independents. I think it's going to be on what? It's going to be on IWTV, correct?
It's going to be on IWTV, and as excited as I am about it all, I am also very, very already exhausted. I'm already exhausted thinking about, because this ain't my first rodeo with Mania.
Right.
I've done these weeks before. It's hard, especially when you are on the kind of office level, the Danny DeMonto, the commentators, the announcer,
right.
the refs. It's a different type of hard for us. And I am not taking a damn thing away from those guys that are going to do 16 events. And I know that they're going to do it. I know that there's going to be the Sammys and the AR Foxes in year past who do multiple events, just as much as I can. I know, and I respect that. But for, like I said, category office, we're a lot of times the first ones to get there and the last ones to leave, and all sort of things like to run interference for, we got to. So I'm just, breathing easy as much as I can right now, knowing that we're gonna come in like a fucking wrecking ball. For me, it starts April 7th with No Peace Wednesday in Orlando.
Right.
That's my first one, and then head on down to Tampa for the next night, and then the next night, and then the next night, and the next night. And I typically get out of town by the time Mania happens. I have no business. I have no business in wherever we are the night of Mania, so I'll probably be out of there on Sunday.
Fantastic. So before we wrap up, where can folks find you on the social medias?
Oh, great. Yeah. So on Instagram, it's at Real Larry Legend, all one word, at Real Larry Legend on Instagram. And on Twitter, you can follow me at BLKLKP. I'll just say it one more time. That's BLKLKP. That's who I am on Twitter. And YouTube is Larry Legend. If you YouTube my channel, it's just Larry Legend. I was fortunate enough to get that as a channel on YouTube. And I was also fortunate enough to be one of the many Larry Legends on Facebook. I had to fight very hard for that. I had to send a lot of points of identification that I am indeed Larry Legend, but I got on there, Facebook Larry Legend as well. And yeah, just search BLKLKP, because that's my Snapchat, and a lot of other things are BLKLKP. And just Larry Legend. A lot of times you got to put wrestler behind it, because we all know that Larry Legend is Larry Bird.
It's Larry Bird.
Yeah, we all know that, but there have been many Pistol Petes and many Rick Rosses, so Larry Legend's just going to have to enjoy the company of wrestling Larry Legend as long as my days are on this earth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me, especially on such short notice. I was like, hey, do you want to do this thing in 2 hours?
Yeah, it's hey, Ronnie called in a favor, and I'm the man. I'm here for you. I love talking, love sharing my story. Oh, and real quick, if you didn't see, this came out just the other day.
Yeah.
Coverboy Deathmatch, a
What?
love story. Yeah, this is the Deathmatch, a love story. Now, I didn't want to break this to you, but what you and I talked about, there's a full cover story. A lot of the things that I talked about, this is sold out right now, but you can follow Deathmatch, a love story, or Deathmatch Mag on Twitter. And I think they're going to reprint this edition. But yeah, I'm the cover boy for this. Earl Gardner, legendary photographer from Game Changer Wrestling and ICW. He did that photo. And yeah, a lot of the things that we discussed is in print right here. So I'm very proud of that. And I think everyone should check it out. Deathmatch Mag, a love story.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, and good luck next weekend. Next weekend.
That's right.
Drink plenty of water.
That's all I'm going to be doing.
Lots of honey.
And tea. My tea is called Throat Coat by Traditional Medicinals. That's my secret weapon, Throat Coat.
I know a lot of voice actors, and they swear by that as well. So
it's good. It's good. Yeah, you do 2 bags of that, steep it, cover it for about 15 minutes, and I'm talking honey. I'm talking, you know what I mean? Down the bottom of that bitch, and you fucking just sit there and relax.
Again, thank you very much, and good luck. And maybe I'll get over there. I may get to maybe Saturdays. I think it's Saturday.
Okay. Well,
Saturdays.
I'll be in the place to be all the day, so we'll definitely cross paths. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. All right, take care.
Right on. Bye.